Good afternoon. It is 1 p.m. on Monday, September 9th, 2019. We are here for the regular trustees meeting. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have an agenda before us. Do we have any additions or modifications?
None.
Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Make a motion to accept the general ledger report in the amount of $360,010.68 for the August 28th, 2019 payroll.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
I make a motion to accept the payment listing report in the amount of $226,023.97 for warrants through September 5th, 2019. Sorry.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Make a motion to accept the minutes from the August 12th, 2019 regular trustee meeting.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
I make a motion to accept the minutes for the August 19th, 2019 special trustee meeting.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Make a motion to accept the minutes from the August 26th, 2019 regular trustee meeting.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes. Moving on to pre-scheduled speakers and the Beavercreek Soccer Association Holly Classic.
Yeah, I'm excited to tell you we're going to have an 11th annual Hunter Classic, and it's no less than the 10th, 9th, or 8th. We're doing real well. We're going to have, right now we have 564 teams registered, 3 sites are going to be operated, 84 fields. I'm so excited. We're continuing to develop revenue so we can make investments in facilities, training, and equipment through the Celtic Soccer Club. Some of the finest players in the region are being developed by us, and I think it's a neat thing for us to accomplish this for the youth. An example of that is the Celtic players usually go to Beavercreek High School, and last year the girls won the state title, and a lot of those were Celtic players. So we kind of feel like we're doing something positive with developing players, and we're excited about it. And so it's not nothing to take for granted that we're having success with this tournament, and it's developing revenues, and they got some wonderful people on the board of the Celtics that have got a vision of what to do and where we're going, and so far it's been very successful. So
Great.
that we came to you this year, if you would do again, help us out with reducing the tent fees so we can operate those sites. That'd be awesome.
Sure. Where are the 3 sites? I know Ankeny and Hobson.
Yeah, well, we got Sackett, Wright, and what's the other one across the street? I just forgot it. But Bellbrook sites.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because
Gotcha.
one of our committee members runs the Fusion Soccer
Oh,
Club in
Washington Mill, Sackett, right?
Washington Mill, there you go, yeah, that's it. So we got those 2 this year, so that really helps us out, because Oakwood and Old River, they kind of, since they developed that turf field, they're kind of difficult for us to deal with, so luckily this opened up, and we seem to be using that facility real well, and we're very open to helping us. The Fusion Soccer Club gives all their volunteers to help us run that site, and the Bellbrook Police give us free help all they can to direct traffic, and it's just really a lot of support down there, so it's going good.
And it's closer proximity too.
Yes.
To Ankeny, the main site.
Nobody's getting lost like they were on Old River. So, yeah, we're looking forward to it, and the volunteers are filled in their slots. We're on schedule. I'm just amazed how this thing runs, but a lot of quality people running it, so it's good.
I'd like to thank you just for physically coming every year and asking, and not just sending an email or a letter.
Oh, well, I
And
appreciate
so
you guys helping
We
us.
appreciate the personal attendance and
A lot of
and making the
people,
request
like,
personally, so.
The referees always got their hand out, they want more, and they want more, and you know, and everybody just, when somebody helps us, it's like, no, that's great, because
Yep.
everybody else is wanting more and more and more.
No, we appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to waive the regular tent permit fees for the haunted soccer tournament sponsored by Beavercreek Soccer Association for the fee of $50, $50 for one tent per site.
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Again, thanks.
Jerry, thank you so
thanks,
much for
Jerry.
coming, and
Good luck.
Oh, appreciate you
hopefully
guys
it's a
supporting
great
this.
tournament this year, as
Yeah, I
it
hope you
has
guys
been.
can come out. Hopefully the weather holds on.
Yeah.
All right.
Please
will.
pass our hellos on to Mr. Ankney.
Yeah, he's my bud, I'll tell you what.
That's
Thank
on
you.
record.
All right, moving on, I see no citizens desiring to speak. We have no old business, no new business. Mr. Administrator.
Thank you, Board. On page 6 is a draft letter for the PDAC grant. This was discussed at the joint meeting with the city of Beavercreek, where council asked us to support their grant application. I have 2 copies there for your signature, one for the fiscal officer, one to come back to me to send to the city of Beavercreek. If you feel comfortable with it, that's fine.
Do we need to read this into the record at all?
You can just simply pass a motion as presented.
Okay.
I'll move that we, agree to the Miami Valley Research Park Utility Master Plan support letter, being sent to the city of Beavercreek.
Second.
I'm catching up, sorry. Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you, Board. Next item is on page 7 of your packet, is the bi-weekly report for the Sheriff's Office. Are there any questions?
I had none, except give a shout out to Sergeant Moore as far as the participation in the Popcorn Festival. So I got to spend 5 hours of my life with Sergeant in a pleasant environment.
It was nice. I learned that they were able to sit down on Sunday. We
Yeah.
weren't able to sit down.
I don't know about that.
But thank you for participating in that.
It's a good time.
We
think,
appreciate that. I really appreciate you leaving your chair for Sunday. Other than that, I had no questions. Ms. Wallace?
No, I have no questions, thank you.
Thank you.
So go to work, stay safe.
As good as concerns.
Thank you, Board. Next item on your packet starts on page 24, is the HR bi-weekly report. Are there any questions?
I had one question. Is Amy Himes the person you're dealing with in Greene County?
Amy's our new employee.
Oh, your new employee?
Yeah, is the
She's the new
part-time, the
part-time.
temp part-time.
Okay,
Mhm.
because I saw that name on there, and I was like, usually you don't have a specific name on
Right.
your hours, so I was wondering who it was.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Uh-huh. Anything else?
I had no other questions, so
I had
thank
none.
you.
Okay, sure.
I had a quick question. Dental cards, are they coming in the mail? How are we getting those? 'Cause
We don't get dental cards with the new provider. It's under your social security number, or you can print a card off the website.
okay, so when we go to the dentist, we don't take them anything, we just,
Nope, they have your social.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
No, I didn't do that with the other provider. I just gave them my social and they looked it up, told them
Right.
who it was, and they found it right away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
We
it's
have
quick.
preferred dentists that we have to use?
There were pretty comparable dentists between the two plans. So you can look on the website to find out if yours, or call your dentist to see if it's someone that's under the plan. And if they're not, I have a form that we can complete to get your
Okay.
dentist
Thank you.
to see if they'll enroll.
What I found so far is there's actually more available dentists on where we're at now than what there was before.
Yeah, it's a good plan.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Board. Next item's on page 27 of your packet, is the zoning department bi-weekly report. Are there any questions?
I had none.
As far as where we're at year to date, kind of year over year on permits, I just had a question. So do we anticipate, where do you feel that we will end up for this year as far as from a permit application standpoint?
Single-family dwellings will certainly be over 100. We won't hit our high of 140, which was 2 years ago. We may match what we did last year at 125, whatever it was, something like that. We might match that. We've just recorded, well, Section 5 of Claiborne Greens will be recorded probably next week. I signed the Mylars this morning. And so that's gonna open up, and, you know, new sections of Nathaniel's Grove and River Reserve are nearly ready. So I expect a crush of applications in the last quarter.
You do, okay.
Whether that materializes or not, I know we won't dip below 100, so.
Right. Okay. And it looks like White Barn Trail is moving along, but not at the pace that they did.
One at a time,
Liberty Hill,
yeah.
So,
Right.
okay. I had no other questions.
No
Thank you.
question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. Next item is on page 32. Your packet is the biweekly report for IT. Do want to point out, you see a spike in August for 105 tickets. We did have a conference call regarding the increase of tickets. What's happening there is that our new firewall sends 2 reports to back to business each day.
So it's
And
double
each
counting.
day, it's counting it as a ticket. So we are working to get that fixed, and they're gonna go back and reevaluate that number.
So there's 62 of the 105 are actually
Potentially.
just reports.
Potentially, that's being sent. Anytime you send an email to them, they'll generate, the firewall generates a ticket in their system. So we're gonna try, we still wanna send the reports, obviously, but we don't wanna count it as a ticket. Are there any questions?
No, that was my question.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
I anticipated that one. Thank you, Board. Next item is the road department, and the first item on the road department agenda is the maintenance agreement for the Beavercreek Wetlands. As you know, we have a vacancy at 1981 Dayton Xenia Road with the Beavercreek Park District moving out, and the Wetlands would like to move into their space. We do have a few corrections on the report, or in the agreement, but nothing changed in the substance. There's a few typos. Mr. Parks is here to answer any questions.
Well, it's good to have the
And
place, somebody in it.
they anticipate this being a long-term, they want to stay there. It's not an interim between,
Yes,
Okay.
they do.
good.
Actually, they have hired a executive director, and that's where her office is gonna be located.
Very good.
And we're in discussions about changing the sign out front to give them road frontage
Sure.
advertisement, so.
And that was set up for 2 at least, right, as far as the
Right.
placards. So,
Correct.
There's a motion on page 35.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the maintenance agreement with the Beavercreek Wetlands Association and authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kreitz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you, Board. On page 39 is the biweekly report. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I had 2. Mr. Parks, on the erosion control, you were checking on erosion control in several different places, especially Claiborne Green. What's the status of that?
Right now, they're doing as they're supposed to. Basically, when I do those, it's not dragging mud out on the undedicated streets, which ends up going into the dedicated portions. So that's kind of why I drive each one of these sites probably at least once a week, if not more often, depending on how active it is.
And my other question was, how far along are we on the cemetery mapping and the records?
Actually, Mr. Zahareff and I had a conversation about that yesterday. We're probably gonna ask for a special meeting with the board in October to kind of discuss where we're at, where we've gone. I mean, at this point, all the records have been gone through. I know for sure Everything's been corrected in our system. We now have the capability of actually taking a laptop with us when we go to the cemetery instead of running back to the office, which is more customer friendly.
Oh, yeah.
And we have a proposal to come in and do some mapping and actually, I can't say plot out graves, but plot them out a heck of a lot better than they are currently. Because right now it's, you find a vault, measure over, so there's no true, this is section 2, lot 113 markers in there at all. So that should be coming.
You would think,
Part-
you would think there'd be GIS.
There,
Well-
so it's an
Marking all that.
ultrasound, so we'll be also presenting, a plan to go ahead, to not only map it, GIS, but, ultrasound it. So when they go down, we'll be able to better identify where the graves are, and to map, the new section as well. So have them come out at one time, do the current cemetery and then any future. So there is a significant cost to us, to it, so we wanna go through the process, what we've done in regards to auditing it, and then the next step after that.
I'd like to suggest you contact Wolpert, Alex. They do some public service mapping for public service entities.
Okay.
They may be interested to maybe help us on this project as a public service. So
We can ask them.
we can ask at least and see
Yeah.
what, because they have some fantastic capabilities there. And when we were there for Chamber Links, the president said that he'd be happy to work with
Yeah, we can reach out to them.
cities and townships, so why don't we check that out before we have to spend taxpayer dollars?
And they actually did one of the maps that was in our booth,
Good.
through the Popcorn Festival.
So, thank you, that's all the questions I had, Mr. Parks.
And I do have an update. Valley Road will be closed this Thursday and Friday to cross water and sewer over to the airport. There will be access to the airport from US 35 only those 2 days.
Okay.
So the project's moving along.
Yay.
Yay. All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Board. Next item is on page 40, is a biweekly report for the fire department and an update on Ohio Task Force 1. You might have seen that the Ohio Task Force 1 did come home over the weekend, saw a couple of members at the Popcorn Festival. So Chief's here to give us an update.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So yeah, they did come back without being deployed for any emergency activities, I believe. So they chased a storm from Miami all the way up to North Carolina, and were eventually released after the storm stayed predominantly offshore. So it was good for them. They were able to do task force related training. That's what they do to fill their time on those days when they're not traveling between sites. So they got a fair bit of that in, and then did return on Saturday. So I believe they're all back to duty now.
Wonderful. Well, we appreciate them participating in that.
Thank you.
All right, the only other thing I had is if you haven't signed up and you'd like to give blood today, the blood drive, the Battle of the Badges blood drive runs until 7 this evening, so get some iron in you and then go give blood and vote fire, please.
I would love to do it, and they won't accept me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
And Board, the only last thing I had is I'd like to personally thank all the staff members in the back, everybody in the back table participated this weekend in the Popcorn Festival. A lot of activity in our tent, I think, between all the projects that are going on in the community. And of course, a lot of the cooperation with the city of Beavercreek. They did send a few people to our tent regarding some projects, and we sent some people to their tent regarding projects in the city. So I personally want to thank everybody. It was a great 2 days. We didn't have to cancel this year, and other than the little rain we had in the morning at 5 a.m. setting up, it was perfect 2 days. Thank you, Board. That's all I have.
All right, Ms. Frick,
Nothing.
Ms. Aaron's?
I just have the 2020 tax budget amounts and rates. It's just what we do every year after they certify our amounts and rates. They give us back what they're gonna give us, and we approve it so we can get it. And there is a motion
There's a motion on page 54, last page of your packet.
I'll make a motion to accept the 2020 tax budget amounts and rates as determined by the Greene County Budget Commission, and further authorize the necessary tax levies and certify them with Greene County Auditor.
Second.
Mr. Kreitz.
Yes.
Ms. Wallace.
Yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes.
And then I had one other question. Are you gonna be looking at a crematorium, or when you're doing all this mapping for the cemetery? I mean, we've talked about it for years. They're expensive, but there are some benefits to it.
Probably once the Phillips house is built.
Okay. So maybe not part of this.
Not part of the upfront towards the
Okay. Thank you.
Or did you mean not part of this coming budget? It's,
Or so if you're gonna have people come out and map, and you're gonna plot, and you're looking at the whole part of the cemetery, that is something that we've talked about for years. Obviously, the financial responsibility is one part of it, but we have had residents ask for that as well. And we know that it works well in other townships who have it, so it provides a nice place for people to put their loved ones' ashes without having to buy a whole plot.
Yeah, that will be future phases down the road, and as Chief said, or Chief, as Tim said, we'll be looking at that towards the back when we eventually tear down the Phillips house. This will be mapping that first section out front. The other thing we need to talk about and discuss is a new thing is tree planting. When I went to the Ohio Township Association conference, there was a whole presentation on people instead of traditional burial would like their ashes planted as part of a tree. So those are some other things that we'll have to look at in the future.
And then also a fall radius.
Correct. And that's the other issue. What kind of trees do you put in? And so that is relatively new. I know some jurisdictions are starting now, but they have a lot more land available to do that.
okay. Any report from MVRPC?
Yes, I do, but before I do that, I would like to thank staff, all of staff of Beavercreek Township that participated in the Popcorn Festival. A lot of you have spent, I know I watched Mr. Parks talk for a half hour for one couple, and it was hot and sweaty, and but all staff people here really did a great job on communicating to the public. They had a lot of questions and were interested in a lot of things that the township does. And I really thank all of you for taking the time out of your personal time out of your weekend to field the questions and make the township look better. Thank you, Alex, for all that you have done too. Because it was a great festival. On the Miami Valley Regional Planning, I had passed to everyone a copy of an updated personnel document that they have gone through their attorneys and brought in a lot of new ideas that should be discussed nowadays in 2019 that aren't discussed in personnel policies. I gave that to Mr. Zaharia. So maybe we can look at our personnel policies and update them and we're allowed to copy anything we want, so we don't have to recreate a wheel. Maybe just change the names and the dates. So I thought that was good revenue support that we give to Miami Valley Regional Planning to be able to have a document like this and use it, and that they shared it. The other thing that they had mentioned, I know Mr. Zaharieff is very involved in the disaster relief program that the director is going to be involved in. That's going to be funded by Dayton Foundation and some with the Dayton Development Coalition. And so he's been going to meetings on that process and how the disaster recovery process on a regional basis would work. They mentioned a community disaster loan program. I'm not sure if you heard about that yet, but we can, as a township, get some operating expenses and loss of revenue returned. FEMA pays 75%, Ohio EMA does 12%, and then 12.5% is our local that we had to put in. But there is an opportunity to be able to recoup some other monies, and so they gave us a lot of details on that. And that's it for MVRPC.
All right, TAC, I believe that was last meeting, correct?
Meeting's next week.
Next week, yeah, we talked about all that last month, next week. Regional planning, I do not believe we've had a meeting recently. The next one, I think they're slotted to have one this month?
Yes.
Yes.
And there will be a township project on the agenda for that one.
Okay, health,
We did have our, community meeting, going through the questions. The chief provided some questions that I was able to have some, included into the survey. They're putting it together now. I wanna thank you for the excellent questions you did provide. A lot of the people on that board had not looked at it from the fire, EMS angle. And so they were pleased to see, their cities being, finding out information on those particular questions. They're going to put all the inserts together. We'll get another copy. As soon as I get a copy, I'll share it with you, so we can make another input on the draft. And it was long, but it seemed to be a good process. The next part of the process will be having people from our community taking a survey. So again, I'm looking for any names that I could give the health department on focusing on certain residents that may want to participate in the next phase of the survey. And that's all I have.
great. Anything with, school? Obviously, we just met with the city, but what about the school?
We're still working on some dates for the school. City manager and I will be meeting tomorrow at 1 with Greene County EMA and all the jurisdictions regarding tornado recovery. We are starting the next phase, which is mitigation planning. And we're also, as Ms. Wallace mentioned, we're also participating in several subcommittee meetings related to the tornado regionally, as well as the monthly meetings that will be reports back to Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission on the mitigation plan. One thing also mentioned, Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission submitted a budget request through Montgomery County, who holds the funds for them, for a position to assist all the jurisdictions in mitigation grants, any of the loan program grants that was mentioned, as well as assisting any jurisdiction with FEMA paperwork. So those approvals come through FEMA and are only granted for 1 year, and it sounds like District 5 of FEMA is going to allow a three-year agreement with Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission. So if they move forward with that project, then they'll have someone at Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission for at least 3 years to assist the jurisdictions that were affected by the tornado, including the jurisdictions that were not designated and meeting the guidelines for FEMA reimbursement. There were a few jurisdictions that did not meet the threshold, and that was one big discussion regarding the loan program as well. And we haven't had a Pat, Restoration Advisory, and tomorrow night is the Greene County
Greene
Township
County,
Association Day.
tomorrow. How about Investment Oversight Committee?
We have a meeting scheduled September 20th at 4 p.m.
4:30.
or 4:30, so
Wonderful.
I'd like to
That's on
invite.
Friday. Yeah, I'm not gonna be, I'm going out of town, so
Okay,
I will not be there. I don't know whether we'll have a representative.
okay. Jan, can you make it to that meeting on the 20th? Great, thank you.
All right,
I have one more
yep,
thing. I have
Ms.
one
Wallace?
more thing to add. The Ohio Township Association is offering 4 $1,500 scholarships, OTA Local Government Achievement Scholarship and OTA Academic Achievement Scholarship that can be submitted for any student for the 2019 school year. They have to be received by January 28th of 2020. I will have a copy of this application on file with Mr. Zahari. And any township parent that wants to apply for this for their child, we welcome their application to be sent to the Ohio Township Association. That's
Wonderful.
all.
Mr. Kretz?
No, nothing further So thank you again to staff for the support, and a shout out to the administrator for his efforts over the weekend with the Popcorn Festival.
And likewise, I don't have anything further than what I asked during the meeting, and again, shout out to our department heads and staff and everyone, you know, that made our portion of the festival a huge success, and also, you know, Mr. Zaharia for, as far as I know, being there every minute of every hour the entire weekend. So, thank you all to our team. We have a great team, and we appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you. With that, I'll entertain a motion to go into the executive session under Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22G1 to consider the compensation of a public employee.
So moved.
Second.
What time is it, please? 1:32.
132.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes. Thank you all for coming. Please have an enjoyable week. It is 2:25, and do I have a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes. Motion to adjourn at 2:26.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.